13 at 616. Okay, HVN looking for 75s. There's a little tape on 75s. There's a big order at 73, 75s, and we're just sitting in between. There's an auction at 74.50, and then we sell off at 74, throwing 12 and 5s into the large order, and then we sell off. On sell pressure and what looks like pulling. I should just add pulling and stacking to the DOM. Market slow, which is good. We have an auction here. He sold off from pulling, presumably 72.25. Sold off again. Then it walked down 10, traded to 5.19. So there's a bit of an auction there, and then the order was pulled, and we shot lower. Plunged to 6.925, still walked down from sellers. Right? There's an auction shifting lower on 69, 4 and 23, 14.23. Okay, the auction shifting lower, tape has run out. Should be an uptick here, maybe to get short off of a 68.50. There's an uptick from 68.50. The tape slows down again. Then it prints 67.75. The auction's shifting lower. There's still an auction there. We shoot down to 67. And then we have a plunge from 67, 79 traded, and people get in front of it to front run the larger order so they have something to exit out on if their trade goes against them. Buyer at 66.50. Whatever. Did they pull the asks at LVN? There was a trade there between 64 and 65. Then they pulled the asks at the LVN. Yeah, so half the move was that. And then we rallied back up on what looks like they pulled the bids, on what looks like the pulling of asks. And they spammed the tape from 64 to 50, 64.50 to 75, 65.75. Just facilitating trade lower, and then somebody throws 39s at 62.50, which is bearish. Price moves down. We come below the HVN, and we refuse to get above it at 62.75. The auction shifting lower, 62.50, 62.25. I think it's going lower. Okay, we try to get above it. We don't. We're now pushing 61s. There's an auction at 61s. I think we're going lower. And then we do go lower, and we go all the way to the end and put in a new low of day. But we rally to the upside. Then we form a balance area there, and we run it over. We come back down to 62s. There's no supply or demand there. After we rallied from the high, 62.50s. I wanted to see it print an auction. It printed an auction right there. Then we shot up. But that's okay. Post. I'll say what I was thinking about at the end of the review. Okay, we form an auction there, 61.75. And we rally. I want to see that again. We come off of 61.50 looking for supply. We find it at 62, 61.75 in a second here. I know because I just fast forwarded. There's 13, there's 1, 10, and 21. That's the auction. We want to go higher now. We auction higher and find 10.34 at 62.75, 12 and 3, 17. The auction shifted higher. The low holds at 61.75, and then we're off. Back into the HVN 64.25. Thirteens. After rallying from the top, it looks like a breakout. Yeah, broke out. 30 and 10, 28 and 6. No supply below. Looks like another breakout. Another breakout there. Yep. And then we come 68 and shoot lower. And then what was that? And then from 67s, what, just throw up all the way down? Just pull everything, seriously? Okay. So pull and throw fives, 5 to 4s for like 20 ticks for 5 points. And now we're at the low. This just moves in on people pulling and what looks like stacking. 10s and 10s, 28s and 7s. The auction shifting lower. 11s. And then we leave these people in the dust here. I think we're going lower, 10 and 7, 10 and 5. Little down ticking, very nice. We come up and rally 9 and 11, really not enough. And then price moves away from me. If I was short there off of that down to 58.75, which is what I'd be looking for, then it just indiscriminately rallies without me. I'm going to add pulling and stacking. I'm obviously away from the desk here. Yeah. Okay, where are we? 808, 62. Stopped at lows, rallied. Tape is picking up. They're pushing lower. Sellers pushing lower. Get absorbed there. Price breaks out. They spam the tape on the upside. Price breaks down. I think we're going up because the tape is spammed. I was wrong. We formed an auction. Tape slows down and we form an auction there. Now we're just balancing. We sell off. Breakout back into H. Back ticking bull side, no auction. 62. $62, $61.75. I want to see what this break looks like. 10 and 12, 11 and 12, a little bit of an auction. 13 and 5, still an auction. 22s, 25, 26, 29. Sold off. And then I wrote something about low of day here because I think it rallied. Forming an auction. There's really not a lot of tape here. We form another auction there. Tape slows up, go lower here, down to 51s, presumably. We sucked up off of that 51.50. We rallied on low volume. I think, like, I was going to say something, I'm not going to. This one, I can't show because I'd have to crop it. I'm in a class. It's an hour long, I think. Yep. Not even going to bother. It was during market open. And I wrote all this stuff down. Front running the orders on the plunge. I think I'm going to get in because the market seeks liquidity at 68, which is an all right trade as long as it goes in your direction. I would scratch here at 61, at 01, I mean. Now I would, anyways, because it's not going in my direction, and I like it when it goes in my direction. And then liquidity thins out after pushing highs at 01s. I would get out. Market's being very generous with me here. And then I pull a couple ticks away from that as an auction forms at 68 at just 25s even, and then they stack the book on the bid side, they fill it, price explodes lower, and I think I'm getting in. uh, um let's see here. Yeah, that would be a good place to scratch. I agree. 110. It's a long there. Price is moving without me. I get out kind of an early scratch, but it's fine. Rally, slow tape. 53. I'm bullish now. I want to see if there's supply, and there's not. 96.75 is what I was watching. Now there is. I would scratch now. Price moves lower. 112. And then a buyer kicks in. A buyer kicks in, and then there's a spoof, and he reloads and absorbs 190 before pulling his order. And it looks like I just watched. 0675, 725, 0825, get out. The auction's balancing there. I'd put another long down by 0675. I'd get out now. I'd put a short here. Yeah, I'd put a short. I'd get out at my entry because they rallied. There's a seller present now. He's pushing it lower. Another seller's there. $46.19, $8.30. This is more difficult to read. I'd go short. It'd blow me out. So I went short there. I thought it was a long. It would just catch me on both. Just how it works. I'd go long here. Pushing higher. I'd get out there. 46, I'd go long here again. I'd hold it. I'd get out if it hit my entry. Hit my entry, I got out. I'm just yapping now. Let's see. I put another long. I put a short here. That's an all right short, but it rallied. I'd scratch right there on the 5 ticks because it rallied against me. And we finally see a move lower from the seller, and I'm betting on the seller showing up again, regardless of the auction. Price thins out, and they're really not letting me get away with it. I'd scratch, which is what I did. 170, liquidity thins out, and then it builds at 575 before breaking down to the LVN. 0125 is something to watch. 00s, triple zeros, 165 on the bid. Sticky whipsaws. I'm just getting eaten alive here, frankly. Okay, there's an auction there, but the seller pushes it, and then we see a bit of a rally, and then the seller pushes it again, and then we form an auction, 99.75s lower, and then I go long again. They're not letting up. I should just flip short right here, especially because the liquidity tapered off. 99.25 formed another auction. We're balancing there, but the auction's balancing lower. I would go short. Unless they fill the upper prints at 00s and 99.75. So I went short. Okay, we're forming an auction. We're getting somewhere at the LVN now. I'd scratch at 97.25, which is where I did. That was a good trade, and I agree with it. Thumbs up. The short here has to do with the large order, expecting liquidity to be pushed, which it does. We should scratch now. I should have scratched 96.50 immediately because it didn't give me the response I was looking for, and that would have told me that the market wants to move in the opposite direction. I'd hold the short. Let's see if it can break the low day again. The auction shifting. Yep. She blew out, and then she rallied against me. Maybe set the stop break even if it's that tight. You know what I mean? It was right against low of day, and that was buyer driven. You can see on the inside prints from 94.75 to 95.75. And there was a full auction there. And now the tape is running out of speed here. It looks like it's ready to go back down. I was wrong. Somebody stuffed the bid on 397 and everybody piled in front of it. Time to long. The auction shifting. I marketed in, which put me at a disadvantage immediately. I want to see if this guy pulls his order or not. So I should have just switched to limits here at 11 o'clock. Earlier in the morning, I was already at a 2-tick disadvantage or whatever immediately because I was smashing market. And that gave me the worst fill even on sim. Did they pull it? It's at 96. Yep, he pulled it. So I'm assuming he got his fill, and the sellers that were looking for liquidity saw the order leave, and that resulted in the push up. There's no liquidity there, so 96.50 would be a good place to long, especially because we came up low a day. I want to see if they want to trade up at 97.75. If not, they do. And then a seller steps in at 99.25, and he throws the tape back down. We lose liquidity there. The seller's probably going to push it lower here. I think I say this with hindsight because I remember trading this and thinking it was going to traverse the entire value area, and it came back down to low of the day. I went long. I caught it. 22, 21. 68.50 is what I'd watch. I'm still bullish because the auction's higher. For me, it's just, and even on sellers who do a 47 at 01.50, it's still exploding upward. So I'm very bullish. I'm looking for 03.25s. I was wrong. Seller steps in out of the HVN down to 99s. We're forming an auction at 98.50, and we use that to build lower. That guy spams 350 again. It probably breaks up because of that. Yeah. Okay, and then tape slows. I'm only saying that because it puked in down there. There's an auction right there, and then a seller pushes it lower. Still a one-sided auction. 96 would be a good place for it to stop. Still an auction. I'd still be bearish here, especially with that at 96.75 printing. We're running out of liquidity. 97.50. I would have held that trade down to 96 even. And this is me just dying here for the most part, is what I assume. I go long here and I'm kind of scared. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm immediately caught offside. We run out of liquidity at 97.50. Market's down ticking. It facilitates an auction. I scratch for 4. Then we run out of liquidity at 96.50. We build an auction, go in the opposite direction. They pull the asks. The market shoots up higher. We form an auction at 98. Now I'm bullish. I'd go long right here. And we run out, and they pull the bids at 97.50 to 98.25. $36.17. Not very buyer or seller driven, just people pulling now. That was buyer driven. Then I let it come back to my stop. We run out of liquidity at the stop. We rally a bit, but I'm bearish now. I'm bullish now because there's no liquidity down there. Market rallies, form an auction, buy side between 96 and 97. Bullish, should get long here and catch the HVN ride. They pushed on the 96.25s. Liquidity is running out. It's time to get out because it does that. So it was just sticky on both sides. And then we run out at 97.75, presumably. They stack the bid. at 111, 135. Then they plunge again, 97.25s. And we rally off of that. We form an auction there. That's bullish. I'm busy. I'm busy. Okay. I'm recording something.
God bless you.
Goodbye. Get out. I'm busy. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Are you leaving? Okay, bye. O1s, bullish. No liquidity down there. They're just pulling. Now there's an auction down at the lows. I'd scratch even though price returned to my entry. Right. And then a buyer kicks it up down to up to 0250. The buyer pushes it up to 03. And I get tailed here by the looks of it. You go short there. The buyer pushes it up. Went long here. There's liquidity there. I'd scratch right there. Yep. Just my internet went out and the tape stopped. And I bought there. There's no liquidity there. You should go short because the tape ran out. '97s is a good close. The auction shifting. Sell 97s down to 96. Presumably, as long as the auction stays. Liquidity is running out. The auction's still there. 97s is still okay. It's time to get out on the buyer. Yep. That buyer shows up again, you're dead. There's no trade opportunity here because we're in an HVN and an LVN. But if we get above it, it's a good long. 62.49. Another auction. We visited this again twice. We refused to get over the LVN 97.50. I'd look for a short here. Liquidity's running out. They fill the ask and the bid on the auction. Trend a bit lower. It's bullish now. 97.25 is what I'm watching for a long. If it goes 96.25, I get out. Or if the tape thickens up. We form an auction above now. We get back down there, and that's too much hassle for me. I'm getting out. That was 25 minutes. I'm just narrating. I'm supposed to be learning from this, but I'm just narrating what I did and what I'd change differently. I'm much more interested in reading the tape now and giving myself a list of rules or making, important notes about things I saw, because what moves the market is orders. So if I can follow the orders, I don't need all that. And I frankly don't care for any of it. It's retarded. It never sat well. It never sat well with me. Everybody had a setup and a checklist. That's not what moves the market, is the setup and checklist. And I don't do well with rules anyway. I'm at the point, frankly, that if it doesn't work, if just reading flow doesn't work, I'm going to go find something else to do. After sinking five 5 or 6 years into trading. I'm just going to throw it away and move on with my life. I want to read flow. That's it. There's no liquidity at 95. This is a good short. They filled it. I'd scratch. Still lower side. -1 exploded on my end. Tried the short again. Good. The auction's lower. I'd scratch there because liquidity dried up. Now we're forming an auction. It's time to break out. We broke up 97.25. We need to get above, right? Was I on the wrong side of that trade? Yeah, I was. And we're in the LVN. There's a spoof short that somebody actually traded and price shot lower. I want to see if that was absorption or, yeah, there was a Berg in front of the 68.50 and they filled it. Price shot lower. We're down to 97.25s. Forming an auction above, which is bullish. We rallied up to the LVN, the end of it at 68.25s. We're forming an auction lower. It's time to go short. Liquidity dries up at 98.75. There's still an auction there from sell side, so it's not an auction. Now it's an auction. We push lower back to 97.25s. And then boom, they pull. They pull on the LVN, so nobody wants to trade there anymore. And we're going to hit that 246 at 68 even after these plungers are erased. Yep. But she didn't explode. Normally she does at 68 even, so that makes me bearish. And then price sells lower. It's a one-sided auction for the most part, down to 99s. Then a thin spot kicks in, or they pull, I mean. Then we run out of liquidity at 96. We form an auction, still kind of low. I'd go short here. Big size at 97. That's a long. There's still low liquidity on this LVN. I would have scratched now just for the sake of risk, but we just reverse this LVN again. So the two areas appear to be 97 and 68, and the traversal between the two, presumably. I'm going to review this last one. And then we have two more, and then I have to go, and then we have two more. So I'll pause it and then just crop this in. It's a short. There's no liquidity. It's time to get out. It's time to flip long, actually. Up to 68.25. That's a good flip long. If there's liquidity below, it's time to get out. 68s I want. Seller kicked in. It's time to get out. There was no liquidity down there. It was just a seller on the LVN. They front ran 68s. Now I'm sticking limits. My attitude at 11 o'clock, I already know I'm losing big time. Obviously, I'm disappointed and I'm trading emotionally. +1. That's a good, yeah, tape dried up, time to get out. We're just between this. I'm sick of this LVN, so we have to break out of it now. It looks like somebody throws 196 at 0350. Yeah. And then they plunge it. Let's see if the market fills it. If the market fills it and stops, that makes it very bullish, but I think it just rallies without touching it. Then I go short. Here, they form an auction. It's time to get out. And there's low liquidity there. There's one auction. Still time to get out. And then I think a buyer plunges it because the auction meant nothing. It looks like the ask pulls again. This is a short, kind of a hairy short. Still good and can be held. Scratch there, yeah. 175. 250s is where I look to get long from here. And then it just pukes without me. There's a seller there. 1135 plus one, 95.25. Time to get out and flip short down to there, get long, get out, get long. Yep. Yeah, good close. Okay. And then short here, get out now. I wrote about this. I remember writing about this. So because the I'll say what I was thinking about because I highlighted it for a reason at 1135 because the market's inaccurate. These areas on volume nodes, they don't act as lines. They're always areas because they're established through how markets are established through buyer and seller consensus. So when you look at a chart, when you look at a chart and it bounces off a line that's a mental illness called pareidolia, which is finding meaning in something that doesn't have any meaning. What I meant to write about was something called skating. 9650 to 94 is the edge of an LVM, is the edge of an HVM, and the market has accepted outside of the HVM. And I'm kind of using the speed of tape and what the bid and ask is doing to determine whether it's going to get back in or stay out. And I expected it, having pushed lower down to I think 92s, I expected it to skate off 96s, and that's what the short is for. But it was just poor trading. I'm sitting there hoping and praying, and that's what exactly what happens though, is the auction shifts lower, and then a seller kicks in. There isn't a big auction. It's just a huge seller from 92.25 to 90.50 who pushes it lower, and so I wrote it down. Skate. Buy. Get out now. There's an auction right there. Um, I got long there. Liquidity's low, and the price is low. It's time to get out. It's going to break down here. Yep. It's going to break down more. Yep. It's going to break down more. Yep. And then it's going to move up here. It wants to go lower. It does. We catch it. I'm going to be here all night if I do this. So let's just. Okay, I go here. One. There's the breakout. Tape slows down. We get a buyer who pushes it. Flicker lower. I think we're going up higher. There's low liquidity. We finish an auction at 90.25, which is bearish. And then we break down, reverse position from review. And I let this run. I just hope and pray this trade and let it run all the way to my stop, which is 4 points. Is it 20, which is 5 points? And then we get short here. Time to get long. Oh, well, there's a big order there I didn't see. That's my fault. This is bullish. There's low liquidity there. They form an auction, it's time to get out. And then flip. And she shoots lower. That's very bearish. 128 and 31 down there. Now I'm waiting for a buyer. What did I do? I put a short in there. That's strange. And they stack bull, and they stack 86, and we'll just fast forward through this. I'm not trading here. And then I'm away from my desk, 12:07, because it's 12 o'clock. My computer turns off. That's why the screen doesn't move. One of these are going to be really long. That's 45 minutes. That's 2 hours. Let's see. I'll just highlight the trades this time. Okay. Low liquidity, get long here. Broke out. Chasing something that doesn't exist. It's moving up on sellers, which is super bullish. So we're going to explode in a minute. Form an auction there. I'm moving the stop. Liquidity dries up at 86.75. Push it lower. Sellers are playing now. Time to get out. Well, liquidity dried up at 84.75. I'm just going to say dry. There was a dry there. I would still hold it. Dry again. Okay, get out now because of 42s. 84.75. The market's just not moving the way I want it to. I'd get short here. Sellers want it lower now. 83.75. 82, 82.25. When is this? 115? The tape is much slower. 86, get out. Still bullish because of the inside prints. They explode on buy side. Get out. He's still lower on a seller. No auction. Liquidity's gone. Time to get long here. There's an auction there. Time to get out. Yep. They rally. Time to get short. Tape is slowing up. I don't know anymore. I'd scratch the trade. We push lower. Yep. +1. Good. Good long. Good. Auctions up there. Low liquidity back at the lows. Seller shows up again. So they obviously wanted out of the HVM. $81.75s. Let's just try to stick with the trades. This is another low of day short. No, that was a good one. You should have kept it. I'd still go short, depending on where we were relative to price action. I get out. I keep it. I keep it short. 13-1 bullish now, flip and bid 78.75. And then they pull the bids. It's so irritating. Sell off, +1, go short, auction shifting lower. Do we break low of day? We dilly-dally. There's still an auction there, so it's gonna break down soon. I go long, good. Auction shifting higher, 78.50. We come lower, there's nothing there. Keep the long. Sellers are being absorbed. The auction shifts. It's time to get out. There's nothing going on. I flip short again. Sellers finally throw in and they hit this 75. Or somebody plunges a 75. Yeah, but they're getting absorbed real fast. The auction shifting lower. They're going to hit the 75 in a minute. And I'm looking for 2 ticks behind it because of slippage, which is what I get. I wrote big size plunge trade, flash out. I'm not going to do that at 10.28. Good long, shouldn't have scratched it. Liquidity dried up, should have scratched there. Went long again, should close right now. +1. Get out. Get out at seller driven. There's no auction there, and the auction shifted lower. 78.25. Yep, they threw it lower. -1. I go short here on big absorption. Ooh, yeah. And then they throw 100. Yeah, and then the seller throws it again, all the way down to 0.25. 70 even is where I'd look to get out. Scratch a trade now because the market's not moving and it got out of that. That was a good one. I like that. Let's fast forward here. Low liquidity, 97.44. I'm not even going to get short, even though I'm bearish, because it looks so bad. She's just selling at the low sell, just a walk down. There's an auction there at 68. 30, 20. Get out. They're throwing it lower. So it's just me bag holding these trades. Primary, I should write that down. Primary loss, bag holding. I flip long. There's no liquidity there. Time to flip short, right? I throw a limit in. Buyer kicks it up and I scratch. Was that? Yep. Buyer there. Good. There's an auction there. Relative to the valley, it kind of sucks, but that's fine. I'm talking about the profile 70, 67, 75. I'd prefer to have. Liquidity slows up there. I should have held the trade. I'd get out now because the auction shifted lower. We're in no man's land now. Liquidity's gone at 68. It's time to get short. And then it flips. The auction flips. Did I flip that to? Time to get out there. And they do that for 2-3 tick loss instead of taking 4 or 5 ticks. Sell here. Get out. $48s. And somebody throws a bidder. 207, 209. Okay. I go short here. Liquidity dries up after filling me. It's a great fill. We take that guy out. We're pushing low at day. The auction's shifting lower, 23s and 35s. It explodes. Liquidity dries up at 62.75. It's time to get out. Go short again. There's no liquidity at 63. Now there is. I'm not going to do anything. I'm a bit fried. -1. Should have held it. -1. Seller there. Buyer kicks it up. One-sided auction. Get out and flip long. So let that run way longer than it should have. It's too early for a short. Go short. Take out 58's even. I pulled it. I went long. It's an all right place to go long. Get out. Yep. It did nothing. You just sat there. -1. For what? The auction builds. It explodes higher. We form at 60.25. Push it higher. Get out. Get out. Get out. So I'm just letting this stuff run. And then I'm presumably chasing. +1. That's all right. A buyer's driving it. Low liquidity at 59s. It's fine. We dried up. Forming an auction. Time to get out. Forming an auction lower than price. No liquidity there. I'd flip short on seeing that. 58. She blows out. 58.25. And then she rallies on the buyer. We form an auction there. I'm expecting it to push high of day now as long as there's an auction. There it is on buyers, 58s. 60, 50, 7, 10, 20, 42. And I go short. Go long here. I get lucky on the buyer. Pushes it higher. They dry up at 65, 75. There's another auction. We're going higher. There's another auction. We're going higher. So these are hope and pray trades. That's why I lost money. No liquidity there. They're pulling. I got lucky. It's an auction at 67.75, 69.50. Good. Flip short on low liquidity, presumably. +1s at 65 evens. Me spamming trades. LVN forming an auction, bullish, edge of the value area. Pushes it down, still bullish, get long. I flip short instead, rallied in the opposite direction, forming an auction higher. We're going higher now. Yep. Back ticking, we're out of liquidity. It's time to get out at the 70s. Yeah. We form balance there. 67.50. -1. Be back. I won't be back. This is the 2-hour one. Damn. Whatever. No closer. I'll just go to bed late. No, I won't. What am I talking about?